Yes, that's right. It is one of the fiercest rivalries in rugby league, and to talk us through the history of it, I'm joined by Parramatta legend Peter Wynn, Bulldogs legend Peter Tunks. We'll start with you, given we are at Peter Wynn's score in Church Street, Parramatta. Can you talk to me about how much you guys hated the Dogs in the 80s?
Well, I think they were the benchmark, the Dogs. I just remember it goes back to 79 when they knocked us off in the final and they went on to the grand final. So there's plenty of feeling from the late 70s right through the 80s and a lot of rivalry there, because when we won the 81 grand final, we had to find a new ground. We played out of Belmore and we were fortunate enough to win 2 premierships there in 82 and 83. Unfortunately knocked off by the Bulldogs in the 84 grand final, but certainly made amends in 86, not before they got us in the final in 85. So that little period of time, about 6 years, 7 years, there was so much intense rivalry between both sides. And the fact a lot of the players in both sides have played together as well in representative football, so became mates off the field, but once you got on the field, forget that. It's all about winning for your team.
Tunksy, is there a particular memory that stands out for you in that decade-long rivalry?
Oh, not really. Like Peter just said, the rivalry between the two clubs was so strong, and you go out there and then you'd have success and you'd start playing representative football with the guys and you get to know them really well and become very good friends. But you still try and kill them when you got them on the field. And but when I left South, I was considering going to Parramatta, but I didn't have any tattoos on my neck or my cheek or anything like that, so they wouldn't let me join them.
What do you have to say about that?
Well, I was going to say you had to get past Big Bob O'Reilly and Stan Jerd and Jeff Bugden and Terry Luby to get in the front row.
Anyway.
Was there a highlight for you, perhaps, in all of the games that you played against the Dogs?
Oh, look, I think probably the 86 grand final. I think that was like the peak, getting an opportunity there for the Eels to play one against the Bulldogs at the Sydney Cricket Ground, and we got away with a very tight win. So, and I know that's etched in everybody's memory ever since. The Parramatta fans are still hanging out for that moment, that peak of probably the Parramatta club to be epitomised or to be beaten. It hasn't happened, so really that's probably a memory to hang on to.
We like to, these days, talk up rivalries and create a lot of entertainment for the fans, but do you think the rivalry is the same as what it was back in the day?
Well, I think, you always go back to the 80s because it was one of the great rivalries, in the rugby league. But just going back about the 80s and everything like that, we got beaten 86, 4-2, no try scored. It was a really tough game. We got back in 88, but unfortunately our friends didn't even make the 5, so they couldn't make it to see if we could have a replay. But we had to beat somebody else. They never turned up,
And then you got to captain them as well. How special was that? Yeah,
that's a really special thing. Being a captain, to get to that far, just to be a captain of a team is a great honour. But to do the victory lap and hold the premiership up, it's a very, very special thing.
And did they used to really talk it up behind the scenes and in the sheds, go out there and smash them? Was there maybe someone in particular you had to smash from the Dogs?
Well, Tunksy was too tall to throw head high at, but no, I think the Dogs, they were a great side. They were tough too, they had a tough pack of forwards. I think playing in the forwards yourself, you respect the likes of Tunksy, Folksy, unfortunately not with us anymore, poor, Langmack, of course David Gillespie. They were just tough, and the big front rower, was out there as well alongside Tunksy. You always knew you were going to have Peter Kelly. He knew he was going to put one on you every time you got near him, whether it was running on the field just for the start of the game or coming off the field at the end of the game. No, look, I respect that side. They had a great coach too those days under Warren Ryan. Mate, he was a smart man. He knew how to put a plan together, and probably I think came from the coaches. If there was someone to attack, it was never an illegal shot. It was just probably a strategic move on the field to put a player out of play.
All right.
Steve Mortimer, if you get near him, you had to get him out of the play, or Terry Lamb, because they were awesome players.
That was like back in those days, a lot of people used to run away from the forward pack, and we had Terry Lamb and Andrew Farrer and Chris Mortimer, and I think they were wanted for certain charges all over the state, and everything. So it was a very tough game back then, like there was a lot of stuff that went on and no one said anything. You just copped it sweet, and then you got up and you played the ball and you waited till they got the ball and you gave it back to them, and it was very, very tough. But there was a lot of great characters, but like I said, a lot of us started to play rep football together and we become very good friends. Brett Kenny, Eric Groth. I roomed with Steve Ella one year for 7 weeks, and you become very, very good friends. But when you run out and the whistle goes, kill or be killed.
Absolutely. Now, I'm sure it's the same in this day, but let's sort of go forward to the 2019 season. Very disappointing first up game for the Dogs. What do they have to do to lift? Because They've got big names in their squad. They've got Kieran Foran, they've got Dylan Napa. Can they get the Bulldogs into the 8 this year?
Look, that's a very, very good question. But on the first game, the Warriors were very enthusiastic. They had a good game plan. They've got some good players, as has the Bulldogs, but they played very much one-out football, and it was very, very disappointing. But by half-time, they were out of that game. So, you know, the first 4 or 5 games of the season, a lot of things happen, a lot of upsets, but it's up to the Bulldogs this weekend to come out and prove to their fans that they're really putting 100% into it and putting their bodies on the line. As you said before, they've got some guys on reputation that they should be a better team than what we saw last week. But again, you know, they have to do it, and it's a big question mark.
Well, on the flip side of things, Parramatta wooden spooners and then won that opening game. Lots of plays everyone's raving about, but in particular, young Dylan Brown, 18 years old. Freddie and Joey were raving about him. What was your assessment?
Yeah, certainly he lived up to everybody's expectations, I suppose. He was given the opportunity and he probably rose on the occasion. It's probably a game he's going to remember for the rest of his career as well. And his debut winning a game against Penrith in first grade is a big thing. But I just don't want him to be a one-game wonder. I think he's been given the opportunity to play at the highest level. He won't be given any favours this weekend against the Bulldogs. I mean, they're going to pat him on the back every time he gets the ball. They'll be putting him flat on the ground. So I think looking at the way he played last week, and he can reproduce that. I'm sure he's in for a great season, if not a great career. And
then you both have to say who's going to win this weekend. And obviously you can't be biased.
Look, I really feel for the Parramatta players. I really think they put a lot behind them from last year. They've come out, they've stepped up to the plate with the win over Penrith last weekend. And for me, they've just got to carry on with it. I mean, it's the second game of the season. They're up against a great rival. And I don't think they need any more motivation than what they're going to get. And I think we'll win probably about 10 points.
Tunksy?
Look, I really think with Nathan Brown injured and Jennings, who scored 2 really good tries last weekend, both of those guys won't be playing on the weekend. I think it'll be a very, very close game. I think it'll be a hard game. It might be not the brilliant game you're expecting. It's going to be pretty dour, but they both need to win this game. They had a great win last weekend, Parramatta. We had a very, very poor loss. So guys have got to put their reputation on the line this weekend. And it might not be pretty, but they've just got to put the work in. But I think I wouldn't be surprised if the Dogs could maybe win by 2 or 4 points.
And of course, if you can't get out to the game, you can come and get any form of merchandise you want, can't you?
And Emma, if you don't score here,
you'll never score.